Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats. It's all about the power.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest edition of the War Report podcast, hosted by the voice of Northeast Wrestling, Vince Berry, who should be joining us very shortly. You know the whole crew. I don't have to get through. This is Steve, solo at the moment, so hopefully Vinnie Mac will be on the attack very shortly. But this show is going to be all about one thing and one thing only, and it's going to be the takeover that is All Elite Wrestling, because that All-In pay-per-view, hands down, start to finish, every single match was by far one of the greatest pay-per-views that we have seen in a very long time. There were some things that stood out more than others. There were a lot of great surprises, some that we kind of knew, some that we knew were coming but didn't think were coming so soon. All in all, so great. Khan and the rest of All Elite delivered. I actually did not get to see it live due to some other things that needed to be taken care of, unfortunately. And I went back and I watched, of course, social media, so I knew everything that happened. I saw all the clips. But what I can say is there were a bunch of avenues I could have taken where I could have watched the entire card today for free. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm in a position where $50 isn't going to make or break me. And I want to support a company that I think is the future of this business. I never thought I would ever say that
about anybody. Hi, everybody. I'm here. What
Vinnie Mac
would you say about any promotion?
You know, it's you always looked at you always looked at pro wrestling and you said, I got to get to WWE to be somebody.
Yep.
You know, there's very few that are AJ Styles that can make a name and become a star without Vince McMahon and then come and still be a star because he's one of the few that Vince let continue to be the guy that he is and can still perform. Mm-hmm. AEW, Vince, I don't know if you heard the intro. I opened us up with Adam Cole, baby.
Baby. The new song is just, oh my God.
Well, we'll go into that because I have some things I want to, and the song is one of them. But I opened up saying that this show tonight is all about All Elite Wrestling and All In pay-per-view and nothing else, because it was by far
moment. Yeah.
It was by far in the last few years that I can remember the greatest pay-per-view start to finish.
Absolutely.
Every single match they just
delivered.
It was a grand salami. It was amazing. You know, I wasn't disappointed at all. The hits just kept coming. And just when you sat there and you said, oh my God, I feel bad for the guys that got to go on next because they got to outshine the ones that, and they all did. They all delivered the way that they needed to. Some stuck out more than others, and we'll break it down, Vince. But
yeah, we'll go through all of it. But yeah, that was.
But my point at the beginning, real quick, I opted to go on demand.
Right, and
I paid the $50, and I watched the show start to finish because I want to support these guys. Not that Tony Khan needs my $50, right? I mean, the guy wipes his ass with $50.
Yeah, but it shows we have very few ways as wrestling fans to show that we like something. You can like it on social media, but that's only worth so much. Buying a t-shirt, buying a ticket, buying a pay-per-view, that shows not just because like internally, okay, yeah, social media likes are great and YouTube views are great, but if you show an outside company, hey, look, people are buying our tickets, they're buying our pay-per-views, they're buying our whatever we're putting out, our toys, our title belts, that gets them bigger ad revenue, it gets them more coverage, it gets them to feel more legitimate, and they are. Like that's the thing. There were a lot of question marks that people had for AEW over the last few years.
Well, it's
like
anytime. Listen,
pay-per-view,
there was
they've arrived.
They've more than arrived.
Right.
You know what, Vince? It's kind of like Impact. When Impact first started, and I'm talking like the Asylum.
Yep.
Right. That was the time that Impact Wrestling, like there was a moment where
they had a good spot.
When you had AJ and Samoa kind of running the deal, and then Angle showed up.
Angle was there,
and then when
was there.
For
AJ,
me, I think what turned the tide in a positive light for Impact, where I sat there and I said they got a real shot at being competition, was when Angle showed up and had that face-to-face with Joe. Yes. And then that series of matches were some of the best, to this day, were still some of the best wrestling matches I have seen.
I was there live. First of all, I would like to thank Christopher Daniels and Stevie Richards for getting me comp tickets. I had to ask Stevie, who asked Christopher Daniels, who got me comp tickets for Lockdown 2008.
Great to know people.
Angle, Samoa Joe in the steel cage for the TNA title, where Samoa Joe won his first championship. It was also a couple weeks before my first show that I ever promoted, where we had booked Samoa Joe, hoping that he was winning that world title. And sure as shit, 2 weeks later, he was in a gym in Bloomfield, Connecticut, defending the TNA title against Scott Steiner. And it was just like the coolest fucking thing. There was that was the moment when you saw Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, and they headbutted him, and there's the blood running down his face. And that was the moment. And you're like, TNA, they're next. They're the
real deal.
And
it was the first time they were even doing different shit, like the Ultimate X. Like that was the first time that ever came out, and it was just so unique and different. And they always
love that.
They always pick the right guys.
Yeah,
they always pick the right guys to participate. The ones that are going to do some real athletic, crazy shit.
And AEW is fulfilling the promise that TNA had, because there was a period of 20, ended up being 20 years almost exactly, where WWE was unopposed. They didn't have any competition at all on a major scale. So TNA, Ring of Honor tried to fill that spot. They never quite made it. AEW really lucked out that they had not only the talent that are the EVPs, the Young Bucks, Cody, Omega, Hangman, and Tony Khan behind it. They got very lucky that two guys, namely Chris Jericho and John Moxley, former Dean Ambrose, came over from WWE, and that was what initially established them in the eyes of wrestling fans. And over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, with the addition of different talent, continued to cement that they were established as this wasn't just some money mark who liked booking shows. This is like a real guy who's running a real business with contracts with TNT and video games and all this other shit. And Sunday was the culmination of all that. You had CM Punk returning for the first time, wrestling for the first time in 7 years. It was amazing. It was the most significant pay-per-view of the last 20 years.
Yes, 100%. And for many reasons, not just because of the obvious, and we'll break it down. But Tara, no worries. Welcome to the show. Glad you can make it.
I was on the phone with a customer, so don't worry about it.
This pay-per-view, it's funny. If you go back into the archives and you go back some of our shows, and it wasn't too long ago, I want to say it was in the last few months. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about how the only prayer we have right now of ever getting that feeling like we did with the NWO would be in AEW.
Yep.
And we said, it'll never obviously feel exactly the same because, it was already done once. And how much different could it be? And I got to tell you, I got that feeling inside my bones.
Oh, I got
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
It was the surprises. It's funny. There were surprises, but they weren't really surprises. Like we kind of knew it was coming, but like Adam Cole, even though we knew it was coming, I did not think it was coming that quickly. I was not aware that I was not aware that he did not have that clause in his contract.
Yeah.
Which
he didn't get released. His actual contract just ended.
And so here's the other thing, and this bothers me. Adam Cole had a very easy decision. Yeah. Right? Forget about the fact that Britt Baker's there doing big things, and that's the love of his life. And, it's always nice when you can work the same show because wrestling schedules are hectic, especially a WWE schedule. AEW, I don't think, is as crazy as a WWE one in that respect. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's still a crazy schedule. So, they don't get a lot of time together. So a perfect scenario would be Adam Cole goes to AEW.
Yeah.
The rumor that I'm hearing is the idea that was presented to Cole to stay outside of a nice, I'm pretty sure I read $1 million deal, which, to be a top guy in NXT, $1 million a year is a great salary, right? So, and I'm sure that's not including merchandise. And Adam Cole's always been a top guy with merch, the wrestling game, things like that. So the rumor I'm hearing is the idea that they presented was that they're going to bring him to the main roster, right?
Oh, I've heard that this makes me mad.
But he's not per se going to wrestle, that they would have him become a manager. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself that one of the most talented guys in the company, and I'm talking in the ring and on the mic, the guy is complete gold in every way, shape, or form. The only thing that's a negative draw to him is that to Vince McMahon, he's not a big guy. Yep. He's just an average run-of-the-mill, he's not 6'4", 300 pounds.
That time at WrestleMania 30 where Vince McMahon didn't want to put Daniel Bryan in the main event because he was under 6 feet tall and the crowd forced him to do it.
Right.
Like, that was basically, it's the same situation. Only
this is kind of like, this is the kind of proposition you make to a guy that is looking to go, is asking for a reason. Give me a reason to stay with your company besides the money. And the best you come up with is, we're going to turn you into a manager and you may not wrestle. Like, that's a no fucking brainer. I'm on the phone with Tony Khan in 3 minutes and I'm saying, where the fuck do I sign?
Adam Cole is the most polite dude in professional wrestling because he actually took that meeting and took the time and was like, I will consider this and call you back. What a nice guy.
Did say, he did say that he's never once had a negative interaction with Vince McMahon. That there's always been a respect thing. But what bothers me the most is not only does that show in your actions that you really don't see Adam Cole as a top tier talent, which is kind of a slap in the face to begin with. You're paying him like a top tier talent, but you're discrediting his ability in the ring. Now you got AEW who's going to put him with his boys in the elite. He's going to be a top heel. He can talk. He can wrestle. He's going to make money because Tony Khan probably beat the $1 million offer. I mean, and he probably didn't even have to. At the end of the day,
he wouldn't have to. For that, Daniel Bryan's kind of a different situation based on the interviews, just the tone. So CM Punk and Adam Cole are giving one style of interview. That is, we left a place that we weren't necessarily happy. We're much happier now to be here. Daniel Bryan was like, listen, these guys took care of me. They treated me really well.
We're having fun again.
Champion. And I took this as a challenge to myself. He's like, I still I don't have any heat with WWE. I'm not happy to be gone or any of that. He's like, it was a hard decision to make, to go from your very comfortable job where they treated you well to this new endeavor that's essentially
Well, now Vince too,
a new
you also can look at it as it's the political answer, right? Don't
Yeah.
burn any bridges because maybe you'll want to
he's-
go back to WWE one day.
That's the thing. The other guy, like CM Punk, doesn't give a shit. So he's just going to say he's not going back to WWE. Terry, you're absolutely right. That was ridiculous. How could you take a talent like Adam freaking Cole and turn him into a manager? Yeah, apparently they wanted him to. I just don't understand this, because basically they were trying to turn him into Drake Maverick.
Right.
And then they had Drake Maverick show up on Monday Night Raw to challenge. Like, Drake, here's the thing. Drake Maverick wrestles and has won title, whether it's the 24/7 title, but still wrestle regularly on NXT and Raw, and somehow they can't find a spot for Adam fucking
And talk
Cole.
about a super nice guy too.
Yeah. And Drake Maverick, I'm glad. Listen, I'm glad that he's employed. I'm glad that when they first fired him, that they reconsidered it and they brought him back. Still doesn't make up for the fact they fired like 100 other people over the last year and a half. But anyway, and Adam Cole, just that's not his spot. When you look at a guy like Adam Cole and you see the way he wrestles, and personally, when there was a time right before he was going to NXT where nobody knew what he was doing, and he worked a couple shows that I was on, and I made a joke to him. I said, "Hey, everybody on the internet is looking at you. They don't know if you're going to NXT. They don't know if you're going somewhere else." And they said your new catchphrase should be Adam Cole, maybe. And he thought it was pretty funny. But he just watching him work and watching him interact with a crowd. And it wasn't, big crowd, 1,000 people, 1,500 people, whatever. That's a pretty big crowd, but it's not a WWE crowd. And to see Adam Cole, who is small and skinny fat or not ripped or whatever, the guy that Vince McMahon doesn't think to be this top guy, he had the crowd in the palm of his hand.
Everywhere he goes.
It was so easy. I got to post this video again where I announced Cody. This was just after they kicked Adam Cole out of the Bullet Club. It was Cody versus Adam Cole. And just the way that Adam Cole reacts, the way Cody reacts to Cody's in the Bullet Club. As soon as Adam Cole hears Bullet Club, he looks at the audience and everybody boos. And it was just great. He could do so much, not just with talking, just with a look. The way Adam Cole, with those big blue eyes and the look on his face, when he's a babyface, he can garner a lot of sympathy. When he's a heel, he's the littlest piece of shit you've ever seen in your life. So it's awesome. He is a generational talent, and they let him go.
And it's funny because it's not really funny, but I read a report where it said what's the internal feeling with upper management backstage right now after all in the WWE.
Yeah.
And more so in regards to Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole. And the response was they don't really see it as a very big loss.
Yeah, that's because they put a fucking super shredder helmet on Karrion Kross. They were just gonna take a bucket and paint a smiley face on it and stick it on Adam Cole's head, and he'd be fucking Bucket Man. That. It's not a big loss. It's a big loss. It was your whole main event for the entirety of the last 5 or 6 years for NXT gone. He was the linchpin of that division, and the only reason he stayed as long as he did was that he didn't want to go to the main roster because of the Twitch thing, so he could still stream and interact with his fans, and that ended up really being the straw that broke the camel's back. Adam Cole, in an interview, one of those post pay-per-view interviews, said that he wanted to keep the Twitch chat because during the pandemic, when everybody was isolating and couldn't go out and see people, the way that Adam Cole got to interact with his fans was by streaming video games and talking to them on the Twitch stream. So that was something he said that really saved his mental health, and that he didn't want to let his fans down by getting rid of that. And he also said something interesting along the lines of He's Shawn Michaels.
I would agree with that.
Shawn
He's
was,
as close as you get.
That's why Shawn liked him so much, because he reminded of himself. He's small. Like, here's the thing. Shawn Michaels, not really a small guy. Back in the day, compared to Diesel and Hogan and everybody else, he was a small guy. So they're like, oh, Shawn Michaels is too small to be a main eventer back then. And he proved him wrong. So, yeah, Adam Cole, the last thing I'll mention before we run, I guess get into a proper rundown, he said that he knew, like, over a year ago that when his contract expired with NXT, he was going to AEW. So could you imagine? And in that time, he won and lost the NXT title at least once. To know that you're, like, imagine you're carrying around another company's championship, and in your head, you're like, I'm quitting this fucking place. Crazy. And they just let this guy walk. They couldn't accommodate him. They couldn't give him a Twitch stream and give him $2 million, like, whatever it was. You lock this guy down because he's your main, whether you like it or not, he was going to be your main event in WWE for years going forward. And now he's going to be someone else's main event and making somebody.
And now you're making it known that you're not going to be taking indie talent. It's like the future of this business is your indie talent. And some of the greatest names in this business were indie talents. There's indie talents that you took that you're fucking ruining.
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe,
Ricochet. Like, I mean, imagine all these guys in AEW.
Ciampa, the list goes on.
Here's one thing.
Dijak. Poor Dijak.
Here's one thing that I am concerned. And I want to know your opinion, and then I really do want to get into the breakdown in this pay-per-view. We'll break down the pay-per-view. Yeah. One fear that I do have is that Khan and AEW fall into the same WCW trap.
Yes.
One reoccurring thing that I consistently am hearing more and more, especially with the guys that are now coming in that were with Vince. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about creative control. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that was the demise of WCW. You cannot allow the inmates to run the asylum. If you want to have them heavily a part of talent meetings and writing meetings and whatever else, yes, okay, I'm good with that. But you cannot let them say this is how it's going to be or else kind of shit.
And that's what, Tony Khan has said that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's pretty much.
Tony Khan has said that, like, the idea of the creative control contract like Hogan or Nash would get, that's not something that they offer in AEW, and that's not something that he would even consider because.
But then the reports are not true,
the creative control part. It's not written. So here's the thing. The creative control that Hogan and Nash had said that whenever there was a match that was booked that they didn't like, they could just change the finish or not have the match. Literally, Hogan could just say, that doesn't work for me, brother, and that would be it. These guys can disagree with something or they can input. Tony Khan wants them to give him the ideas that they have, but at the end of the day, he's saying he's making the final decision. Anything that's going on TV gets approved by Tony Khan. And if it doesn't work, he wants it to fall on his shoulders. He might say, yes, Cody pitched this idea, Kenny pitched this idea, whatever it was, and it didn't work, but I approved it.
Listen, at the end of the day, if that's true and that's how it's going to be, then all good. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's not my company, it's Khan's company. He's got to run it as he sees fit. What I'm saying is they have a real shot here at being a better program all around than WWE. They have a real shot here, but my hope is that I don't want to see them get into that trap. That's all.
And the thing is, Tony Khan being such a fan of wrestling for as long as, so the comments that we want that, where's the hot chick? We want, I'm sure she's logging in soon. Her name's Eric. Oh, anyway, but yeah, man, I think as a fan, Tony Khan knows what put WCW out of business was that the big name talent would refuse to put other people over. And now what you're seeing is Chris Jericho, even though he won, and we'll get into that, even though he won This is one match that he won against MJF. He put him over 3 other times. One of them was clean in the middle of the ring last week, which is incredible. Punk came in and made Darby look good, and I'm sure now that he's gotten that pin, Darby's going to get that win back one of these days. And Punk is there to put over other people because he already wants to wrestle Jungle Boy and a few others. Christian Cage has proved that he's out there to put other guys over. Cody immediately lost a match where he couldn't challenge for the world title anymore. The Young Bucks did jobs for Private Party on the first episode. They did jobs for 2 years until they won those titles. Kenny Omega didn't win the title from Jericho at the first pay-per-view. They waited on pulling the trigger on Kenny Omega until they were established. And then, Jericho puts over Moxley to establish the AEW title as legitimate. And then Moxley puts over Omega to legitimize Omega in the eyes of American fans and mainstream fans. It's working out so far, but that is the concern. Is it turns into WCW 2.0 where you hire too many guys, too many fingers are in the pot, and you get to the point where this guy doesn't want to do jobs to this guy, and it'll make me look bad, blah blah blah, and then you're in the shits. But so far, if he's able to maintain this, I will take everybody's ideas into consideration and filter them down into something that I like for my TV show. If he's able to do all that, great. But you're absolutely right. The concern is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm just so happy right now. Like, people keep saying it, and it's so true. This is such a great time to be a wrestling fan, and we haven't been able to say that in so long because AEW is not, they're not bound to having to stay as close to PG as possible. They don't have, if they want, they could say fuck. Like, it's more raw. It's more like.
That's the thing. You have Monday Night Raw, which was raw, uncooked, uncensored action. But remember that? That was raw. The idea was raw. The content was raw, hence the name. And it's just been watered down and whittled down over the years.
Well, and it's the same shit. I don't even want to talk about WWE.
No, so I'll give you a stat, and then we can go on to the pay-per-view.
Please.
On Reddit did some research. In 2021, WWE across their main programs of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, including the pay-per-views and takeovers, have had 116 rematches. AEW this year has had 16 100 rematches less. 100 matches less.
That's insane.
So what do you do? WWE at one point had way more employees. Now they're probably about even. But with the roster that WWE has between the Performance Center, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, to have 116 rematches, and that's not even counting, they didn't even count matches where like Bobby Lashley and MVP would take on somebody instead of just Bobby Lashley versus them in a singles match. So when you include those, it's got to be up in like the 200s and 300s where these talent just overlap in almost every match. But that's your fun stat for the day.
Well, you know what? It explains a lot in a lot of ways, unfortunately.
Yeah, because you look at a program that's fresh, and there's always rematches sometimes have to happen. Like Chris Jericho putting his career on the line to get one more win against MJF. Sure,
but you know what though? It's not even something that can be in a comparison because that was such a beautifully done story.
Yeah,
the writing was superb. The story was fantastic. MJF, you know what? We'll get into MJF I have some shit.
Where do you want to start for the pay-per-view?
I mean, let's start at the top. I mean, it's not even like, yes, there's things and there's parts of matches that stuck out, but every match on their own was just, I mean, we opened the show with they opened with the TNT Championship, right? It was Miro and Kingston. Wasn't that the first match?
Yeah. So the pre-show was Jungle.
The Jurassic Express and Best Friends versus the Hardy family.
Exactly, Hardy Family Office. All right, and that was a good kickoff match for a free, for like a free match.
Got everybody pumped up.
Yeah, the crowd was hot. I mean, once you heard them cheering for the 8-man in the pre-show, you knew the crowd was going to be hot. So that was a fun match. Jungle Boy gets the tap out with the snare trap, and then they had a setup where it looks like, hey cat, and it made a setup where it looks like me and you both clicked it at the same time. Sorry, I shouldn't be clicking on the buttons there, Steve. My bad.
Ew.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry, me and Steve both clicked it at the same time, so you came in and then went away. They're setting up a story where it looks like Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy might be having a hair versus hair match, so that should be interesting. But we get right into the main show. Your TNT champion, the Redeemer Miro, against Eddie Kingston for the AEW TNT Championship.
What a great match to kick off the actual show.
Perfect.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Everybody loves Eddie. Do you know how
those two have great chemistry together?
You know how happy I am for Eddie Kingston, who
oh my god,
12 years ago was sitting in a locker room, and he reminded me of Will Smith in that thing where he said, "Why don't they want me, man?" He was back there in a locker room. He had just done a WWE tryout, and they rejected him. And he's like, "They said I'm too fat. They said I can't go. They said I can't wrestle. They said all this shit about me." And he was just like down in the dumps. And I'm like, that's bullshit. And everybody in the locker room was like, dude, that's bullshit. You're the best. And finally, 10 years later or whatever it is, he's finally allowed to show it. I'm so happy for him. That match was fucking awesome. And I think it sets up
one of the best things they did for him in AEW is put him with Mox.
Yeah.
The two of them together
natural. That
is such a great pairing. But even still, they paired them, but they're still doing their separate shit as well.
Right. That's important that they're able to go as
exactly, because we don't need them in a tag team. It's good that they have each other's back, and when it's needed,
right.
They got it. But and this pay-per-view proved it because they both had their own shit going on, and it was just well, right. So overall, fantastic match to start off the show. It kind of went obviously the way I thought it would. I didn't think Miro was losing, but a great finish. I thought it was a great way to finish out the show.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah. I wasn't even going to air that comment.
I wanted to see what her response was going to be when she saw it.
I liked the one where you said Eric's not here. That was pretty good. I did hear that.
Because he said, "Where's the hot chick?" I said, "Eric." Yeah, he was like, anyway. Let's see.
It was so much fun having him over this weekend.
Oh yeah, and you guys watched the pay-per-view, so I'm glad that he got out to see everything.
He took the 2-hour drive for that. Then he actually went to Bob's house yesterday.
Oh my god!
And
we'll talk about him later.
Yeah, but that's crazy. I'm glad he got out. I would just, hi Eric, come on the show soon.
Yeah, I told him the same thing.
Let him know. All right.
Yeah, 100%. He needs to get back on the show.
Amen.
John Moxley, Satoshi Kojima. Not only was this a good match, but then what happened at the end? Oh, this whole pay-per-view, I'm reliving it in my mind. It was insane. This was insane.
And it's funny because a lot of people aren't familiar with the music or this and that. So this music hits and you're kind of sitting there like, what the fuck now? And then, unbelievable. And the reaction, Chicago was the right spot for this pay-per-view.
Yeah,
Amen.
Absolutely. They're plugged into wrestling because Terry, go out of your way to see it. See if you can find a replay. See if you can find a stream, whatever it is.
The whole thing is on YouTube. I was just going to say the whole 3 hours and 47 minutes is on YouTube.
Let me tell you something, Kat. It's on YouTube. You told me that, and you know what? I still paid the fucking money, and I bought the pay-per-view. I wanna give them the money because I knew ahead of time how good this pay-per-view was going to be.
Absolutely.
It really was. D-Star, thanks for checking us out on YouTube. Appreciate you. Best pay-per-view of the last few years. That's exactly the same thing I said when we opened the show.
100%.
Amen to that.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So Satoshi Kojima is an All Japan, New Japan legend. People were they didn't know who this guy was. He's kind of like an older guy. Oh, why is John Moxley wrestling this older guy? And Satoshi Kojima can still go. That was a great hard-hitting Japanese style match. Steve, you're right. This is the right place to do it because I was thinking Chicago was the right place because they're all really plugged into All the fans there, which is great because when in WWE, when somebody comes in from Japan or another place, they pretend like it doesn't exist. These fans know. And when they, at the end of this match, spoiler alert, Jon Moxley wins. And at the end of it, this music plays.
Another great finish, by the way.
Oh, another, yeah, great finish. And Kojima's great. I love Japanese style wrestling like that. The music plays. People don't quite know what it is. It's Minoru Suzuki from Suzuki-gun in New Japan. Holy shit. Lance Archer is a member of Suzuki-gun in New Japan. This is a big deal. Legit MMA guy who transitioned into wrestling back in like the late 80s, early 90s, studied under Carl Gotch, I believe. He's legit, dude. And then he comes in, stares down Moxley. Moxley's definitely put on weight, D-Star, because I don't know if it's sympathy weight or just being a dad and not having the same amount of time as he had. But like, it happens, dude. You get old, you have some kids, you put on weight. He can still go.
He definitely has put on some weight. I definitely think it's definitely has to do with sympathy weight. It is a thing. I put on weight too when my wife was pregnant because you just wind up eating a lot more because they're eating a lot more. You just wind up eating a lot more. It is what it is. And he's probably drinking a lot of beer. That'll add to it too. But yes, he can still go. But yeah, it's definitely noticeable. He definitely has put on a little bit, but you know what? As long as it's not hindering his performance in the ring, do you? You know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with some big meaty men slapping some meat out there, which is what's going to happen with Minoru Suzuki.
What? Wait, real quick. That's a true story also because Renee can cook, and she's probably cooking up a storm. So that's probably a true story. She had a cookbook come out and everything.
She was testing out the recipes for her freaking cookbook, and he had to taste all of them.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, man. He was the guinea pig.
Right. Yep. So he put on, him and the dog probably put on a lot of weight. The coolest thing was the wrestling fans in that building knew it. Oh, come on. The results don't need to be spoiled. Like, it doesn't, the finishes to these matches, I can tell you what happened on this whole show, and you should still watch it.
Yeah, exactly. And Tara,
I knew everything going into today, and I still spent the $50 because everything I kept hearing at the end, no matter what I was hearing, it was always the same theme: best pay-per-view in years. So I said, and it was worth every single penny.
Yep.
Just unbelievable.
Well, we'll move on to the next matches, but the cool thing that I thought was when Suzuki got to the ring, there's a certain part in his song where the chorus is Kaze ni Nare, and that's Japanese for I am the wind or fly like the wind, something like that. And everybody in the building knew. Suzuki stopped, he took his hood down, he looked, and they all went Kaze ni Nare, and they all hit it. And it was just amazing to see a guy who's never been in AEW, and they sang the song that he had from the other promotion.
You know what? And if you go back and look at his face,
he was
he was kind of pretty surprised by it too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Those guys in Japan, they never know how big they are in the U.S. until they come out and get a response. Kenta Kobashi had the same thing when he first came over to fight Samoa Joe in Ring of Honor. He's like, I'm going to come out and be a bad guy. And Joe's like, they're all going to cheer you, buddy. He's like, no, I'm Japanese. I'm evil. And then he's like, no, it's not. That's done. You're a legend. And he came out and he was – so every Japanese guy that comes out and wrestles, they're so surprised because they think they're just going to be evil Japanese foreigner. Women's match. Championship, we've got Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Jamie Hayter and Rebel taking on Chris Statlander, who came out with OC.
What another great match. Another great match. It was a great match. The two of them also great chemistry, great finish to the match. Britt Baker breaking out Canadian Destroyer,
the
flipping pile driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was and Statlander, she's the real deal, man. She can go. Yeah. I don't love the gimmick. I don't like the whole alien thing. Whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't hinder what she can do in the ring. She was fantastic. Both of them put on a great match. I mean, there's really not much more to say. Yeah. And I'm glad to see Britt Baker retain the title because she deserves a run.
Yep.
From everything I hear, she's keeping the title through the end of this year, and will only be putting over Thunder Rosa at Revolution or the next pay-per-view after that for the title. She's going to go on a run, which she should. And yeah, put that one up there from D-Star. He's right. She's a megastar. She's, first of all, nobody was sold on Britt Baker when she first came in. She was a babyface, just happy to be here, blah, blah, blah. Hey, look, I'm a dentist.
Didn't WWE pass on her too?
WWE passed on her. I mean, she wrestled, she got beat up by Nia Jax on SmackDown once or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, they passed on her, and she signed. She wasn't the world's greatest wrestler. She wasn't a very good promo. Then she injured her knee in one of those matches. I think it was a Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen. And in that time where she injured her knee and had to rehab, not only did she get into better ring shape, she took that time off to like really work on her character, came back with a better idea of what she wanted to do. And I'm sure Adam Cole helped a lot with that as well. I'm not going to give him all the credit.
Well, no, but you know what? You probably got to give him a lot of credit. They live together, so they've got to be. And if you watch her wrestle now,
right, they're going to be talking wrestling and talking about, hey, you should.
Well, but also, if you go back and watch the way she wrestled this match against Statlander, there's a lot of similarities to what you see from Adam Cole.
Yeah, and I liked that, and I liked basically the little, hey, Adam Cole's going to be here in a couple hours. Panama Sunrise that she did. That was beautiful. Taz, I got to back up a little bit. They had a pre-match video, and all of these pre-match videos made it feel like a big fight, like a real championship match, like the UFC World Series. Definitely. And I think it was Taz that said, I believe that Chris Statlander will be AEW Women's Champion. And he didn't necessarily mean it to beat DMD that day.
That night, right.
I think he's right. I think once we work, I think, first of all, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker are going to just continue and have a very long feud that eventually ends with Thunder Rosa winning the title. But I think there is going to come a point where Chris Statlander definitely wins the women's championship, or if they come out with women's tag team titles, which that seems like that's next. She could be one of the, she's going to be a champion wherever whether it's AEW, wherever. Chris Statlander will be a champion because she's fantastic.
Agreed.
So the next one was, and not to no slouch on Dr. Britt Baker. I mean, she's the best women's wrestler right now in terms of, she might not be Ric Flair in the ring, but she's still very good. She might not be the best promo, but she's still up there in the top 5. But she puts it all together in a way that nobody else on the roster does. She's all well-rounded right now.
Yes, I agree.
And now this is the big one, dude.
So AEW
ended the show after this, and I would have been happy for.
I know.
Tag team championships, the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. First of all,
Jesus Christ, what a
the Lucha Brothers entrance was sensational.
That was so cool.
I didn't really whatever. It was great. It was cool. It was a celebration. It was just very well done. The crowd was just great singing along. The Bucks are one of the greatest tag teams out there. We all know this. Yeah. I mean, this match, but the Lucha Brothers also showed they are some of the best. They're neck and neck with the Bucks in terms of some of the best tag teams in the world. That match couldn't have been better.
That's honestly match of the year, in my opinion.
I think
it's definitely a candidate for sure.
I know for sure right now, dude. That was
listen, the year's not over. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
So far to date, if we were doing Slammies or whatever it is right now, that was by far.
And D-Star's exactly. Cage match wise, I've never seen a better singles cage match. Never seen a better tag team cage match.
Absolutely.
I've never seen a better hardcore. The only one that
D-Star agrees with you.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I agree with that. I am agreeing with his comment here. But I think the only hardcore Hell in a Cell, you would have to go to Hell in a Cell matches. You couldn't even go to cage matches. It would be like Foley Triple H, Last Man Standing in the Cell or whatever that was, or Brock Taker in the Hell in a Cell. Those are great cage matches. But
some of the spots,
I still think that I have to take it over that.
The things that they did, because
Unreal, man.
I can't say enough about this. They took the Young Bucks took this personality that they developed about being like sports fans, basketball fans. Oh, we collect the sneakers. We do this whole thing. They come out in the Jordan tracksuits, and then the big reveal is that they throw an Air Jordan with thumbtacks on it in the ring, and that's how they start getting the heat on the Lucha Brothers. Holy shit! I mean, what a great spot, because you had to do something.
There were so many. I mean, even Ray, the way that he would use the cage, you know, like he was like about to take a bump, but instead he ran the side of the cage and then turned it into a Hurricane Rana or whatever. They are so fucking talented. They are so fucking good. And it's just, that was such a great pairing. Yeah. And I would imagine this isn't over now because the Bucks damn sure should get a rematch, of course. But only Foley, Taker, Hell in the Cell was probably above this. I happen to agree with D-Star. I think
because that's
I think that's a good call.
Match, yeah.
Right, for the big bump and everything, but like wrestling,
and then
like
even the end, even the end when Penta stayed back and all his kids came running out, and
that was great. And
they've been working for this for so long. I'm so happy for them. It was well deserved. The match was outstanding. I don't think they could have done anything different. I really don't. I mean, they pulled out all stuff.
This is when you know it's a fantastic match. I didn't pick them. I picked the Young Bucks, and I was still okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I didn't get the point, but I'm good.
Something told me it was time. I went with my gut.
I agree, but
the thing is, AEW has to deprogram people from the WWE way of thinking, because the cage match in the 70s and 80s was a blow-off match. You had interference, and then you had a cage match where there was no interference. And then WWE fucked it all up, where every single cage match they has interference. So people were in that mode. Oh, there's going to be a screw job. Somebody's going to come in. Somebody's going to walk in the door. There was none of that. It was such a wrestling. It was pro wrestling 101. The heels constantly had people interfering. So the promoter put in a cage match so they couldn't get away and they couldn't have help. And then they couldn't win the one-on-one match against the better team, who were the Lucha Brothers. So like it was just beautiful. And after the show, the Lucha Brothers did an interview. Everybody was doing interviews after the post pay-per-view. There was a translated interview from Spanish where those guys' names are actually not public record. Nobody really knows what their real names are, unless you know their family. Like they're very secretive about it. But apparently when they were younger, were homeless, and in order to make ends meet, and like they would have enough bus fare to like buy a bus ticket and sleep on the bus, they were selling Lucha Libre wrestling masks as little kids on the street. They were just going around like that's how, when they were teenagers, that's how they made their money.
Shit.
Selling wrestling masks. They said, I want to do this one day. And to come from literally nothing in Mexico and to get the top title is amazing. So
that's incredible. I'm so happy for those guys, man. I really am.
This is what WWE is missing. They have so many likable people. Drake Maverick, that was a great story. He cut that promo when he got fired and he cried. And the internet got behind him and they rehired him. It's such an easy story to tell when you have likable people. You have Zelina Vega, whose father passed away in the towers in 9/11 because he was a firefighter at the time, or a police officer at the time. Yeah. And, you know, she's a heel. And I get it. She's a good heel. But, like, if you want to make a feel-good story, they have so many stories behind the scenes of people who've overcame stuff to become professional wrestlers. And they don't tell any of those stories anymore. They don't make you feel good about what happens out in the ring. When somebody comes out like the Lucha Brothers, they say, I was homeless and now I'm a world champion. Yeah. That's big. That's a big moment. Like, and you just, I haven't felt like that in WWE watching their program in a very, very long time.
It's really true. I mean, this was a pay-per-view all the way through that you just sat on the edge of your seat.
Legendary. It
was just so good.
With WrestleMania X7, WrestleMania X5, it's going to be up there with fucking, SummerSlam or Bash at the Beach 96 when the NWO came out. It is up there with those great moments in wrestling. And those were all 20, 30 years, 20 plus years ago. This is now. In the now, they've moved their pay-per-view from 2 days ago up to one of the top that's ever happened.
Yep.
Ever. It's crazy.
Because it's just pure brilliance.
You go back to the basics and you don't try to fix what was never broken.
And how about this for back to basics? Match number 6, even though it's kind of a clusterfuck, the 21-person casino battle royale, which I actually want to make a YouTube video on how I got Tony, if you're listening, Tony Khan, I can fix the casino battle royale. I know what to do to make it less clunky.
So
idea. This is an example. Like you said, Steve, go ahead.
Here's my thing. This was probably my least favorite.
That's a battle royale,
and that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it. Would I be upset if it didn't happen? You know what I mean? I do like the concept of there's the groups. So that's different. I kind of like that. It's a little original. It doesn't feel like a Royal Rumble. So okay, I'm good there. Yes, it did feel very clunky.
Just the production.
Some of the spots just didn't look great. But again, that happens, especially when it's clunky and there's just so much going on.
Royale.
But to me, the biggest thing obviously was Ruby Riott, which apparently,
oh my god,
apparently people knew because they started chanting for her before the Joker card came up on the screen. Yeah. She looked great. It's funny. My pick, not knowing that Ruby was going to be there, my pick was Thunder Rosa,
and you're down to the final 2 there. It's a good pick.
But that also means Thunder Rosa is going to be a player in this title chase.
Yeah, for sure.
I could see maybe a triple threat match come out of this or something. And, these are 3 women that can really go. And so I'm excited to see that. But Ruby looked great. I was happy for her.
It was such a moment. Like, she looked so happy to be there. She hugged Bryce Remsburg after she won. And the coolest thing is, the band Rancid, the lead singer of the band Rancid, gave her permission to use the music and even suggested to her to use the name Ruby Soho from the song. He's like, listen, use the name as your character name and use our song as your song. Tony Khan probably has to pay, if anything, very, very minimal fees to get this song. And
that's awesome.
It makes the difference. It makes so much sense. She can't be Ruby Riott anymore. She can't be she could go back to Heidi Lovelace, but people know her as Ruby something now from TV. So Ruby Soho, there's already
you got to keep Ruby.
It already exists. It's a damn good song. Do you know? The last 2 days I've been waking up. Just you wake up in the morning, you have a song stuck in your head. Destination unknown. Like the whole day, it's been driving me nuts. So I'm over the moon for her. It's a battle royal. It is what it is. But the lasting moment is going to be her eliminating Thunder Rosa, and then the reaction that Ruby had afterward, and that's what you got to go with.
I was very happy for her, and very well deserved. She really was not treated the way she should have been in WWE, like so many others, unfortunately. But thank God there's another avenue. There's another way you can go.
Yes, there's a new path. Chris Jericho defeated MJF by submission.
Screwy finish, but in a great way.
Oh my God.
Screwy finish, but in a great way, because for a moment we sat there and said, oh my God, Jericho is done. And we got that feeling. And then they restarted the match. Thank God. It was, let me tell you,
I thought they were going to drag it to another pay-per-view. I'm glad they resolved it right there.
Let me say this. MJF is the greatest heel in the business today.
His promos.
His promo work is A++. He doesn't stumble. It flows. He tells a great story. He's a prick, and he's so good at it. He is good enough in the ring where he makes others look great. He makes himself look great. His talk, his music, the way he presents himself, He is the greatest heel in the business today, and he's a baby. He's young. He's got so much time to become one of the biggest names this business has ever seen. And I'm telling you, this guy is going to be one of the greatest heels in professional wrestling. He is so fucking good. Putting him with Chris Jericho, phenomenal idea, because if anybody can make a star out of somebody, it's Chris Jericho.
For sure.
Talk about how good of a heel. The son of a bitch, his entrance was Jericho's countdown.
That was great. That was the best. I want to know who MJF came up with that. Whoever did, give him a raise.
That is the greatest fucking heel thing you can do. Because I was like, oh, we're getting old school Jericho. And then MJF's music hit. And I was like, that son of a bitch. But in such a great way. Because that's just what a heel does. He does it perfectly. The entrance was great. Jericho, of course, with just the guitar and the crowd was just, that's always a home run. And the match, they both look great. They put on a great show. The screwy finish, the emotions. But in the end, Chris Jericho is still all elite wrestling.
I really, and I liked that they did the three. Aubrey didn't see it, but then that other ref, came over and corrected it, and it wasn't just like a miscarriage of. Again, we're being deprogrammed from the WWE way of thinking. Most of the time when that happens, like when Brock Lesnar low blowed the Undertaker or whatever it was, the Undertaker low blowed Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar tapped, but he didn't. Undertaker tapped, but he did. Whatever that stupid match was in 2015 or 2016.
The SummerSlam match
where the referee wasn't looking and the timekeeper rang the bell. That's the kind of horse shit we're used to. This is a different kind of horse shit that makes a lot more sense. It was still a screwy finish, but there's a way to do a screwy finish that doesn't
piss you off.
It doesn't insult the intelligence of the fans, doesn't make them think that they wasted.
Which is what they did. In that match.
And it also did something for MJF because that was he can go around and say he beat Jericho 4 times. Just do that's fine. There's a visible pin. There was a pin. Everybody reacted like he won. So he got the reaction of, wow, he just retired Chris Jericho without actually retiring him. So it was great. And Chris Jericho gets to still be part of AEW, which I don't mind. It's always nice to have him around.
I would have been very upset if that was really it, but it was so well done. Listen, we're getting very close to the very top of the hour, and CM Punk Darby Allin was fantastic. It was so well done. CM Punk 7 years, didn't miss a beat. Darby Allin, and we keep talking about start to finish. The match started with CM Punk crossing his legs and sitting down to be on Darby's level, and then it just went from there. Then the Sting handshake, and then the camaraderie in the end with all three. It was just, and the crowd, of course, Chicago. It was just so fucking great, Vince and Kat. So fucking great.
Absolutely.
Goosebumps all the way through.
And, the crowd, the bloom hasn't come off the rose yet. People are still hyped to see Punk in Chicago. They still pop for the music. They still sing along. Punk came out in Bret Hart tribute pants. He had
awesome.
So those are like Bret's sharpshooter pants or his Hitman pants, but a little different with the Chicago colors. They wrestle a lot of spots. They used CM Punk took inspiration from Bret Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid, so they reused the arm drag spot, the dive to the outside. There were a couple spots that I don't want to say reused. I think everybody thought that something was going to happen.
I did too, but I'm very glad that it didn't. I like the way it went.
Punk doesn't need to be that guy, at least not yet. He doesn't need to be the low down, dirty CM Punk of old just yet. Let's enjoy this little run that he's on, and then he can turn heel on Adam Page or something in a year, and then have Adam Page, beat CM Punk and make him look like a big deal. Anyway, fantastic, phenomenal. It was a great match back. People were confused because I don't know what people would expect. I didn't know what to expect from Punk.
I didn't either
coming into it, but this new, very much Bret Hart influenced mat-based wrestling style that he's employing, it's smart. for an older guy who can't take as many bumps and is not going to do a bunch of big dives and flips to change his style up like that and still feel like it still felt like CM Punk. It wasn't like he went out there and wrestled. And you're just like, who is this? Who is
like? Where did you go?
He wants because he wants to ensure the longevity, and you want to know why? Because he's having fun again.
He is.
Yes,
and that's what it's all about. So,
it's so nice to see him having fun.
You can see it all over his face.
You can feel it. It's phenomenal. So that was fantastic. And then we have Big Show's match. That'll be quick. Big Show looked great. First match back.
Knockout. I mean, that's all you needed from him. Choke slam, knockout punch.
It was 5 minutes. He hit his spots. It was well done. He's still
that's all you need.
Yep, it was great. And then you have the main event, which was so fucking good. Kudos to Christian. Because he can still go.
But that match was fucking awesome.
And then that match was so good. And just when you think it's over and they're all celebrating, then you get Adam Cole, baby, which was a huge surprise. We all knew it was coming. We just didn't think it was happening that soon. Right. Adam Cole comes out, shows his alliance with All Elite. They all embrace. And then Daniel Bryan. It's like, just when you say, all right, it's over, now we got another one. Daniel Bryan, the crowd goes fucking crazy. And apparently, he may not be able to use the yes, which is so fucking stupid because the crowd's going to do it anyway.
What are they going to do?
He comes out. He obviously aligns himself with Jurassic Express and all them. And the next thing you know, I mean, it was just.
I'll tell you what, whatever Jackson brother, whatever Young Buck took that Daniel Bryan knee to the face.
Oh, yeah.
The best that nobody sells that knee right. It looks like shit 90% of the time, let's be honest. I never liked it as a finish until he hit it on Matt Jackson. He looked like he fucking killed him. It hit him right in the face. He's like, it was great.
That's it. He's dead.
I hate how we have to rush. I hate that we have to rush through these last ones because it was so huge.
It was a moment in wrestling. I don't want to downplay the match. Christian at 47 years old or whatever he is,
amazing.
Yeah, went out there and wrestled his ass off for 21 minutes with the current best in the world, Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega's no fucking slouch either. They did table spot after table spot and the fucking all around the ring. The whole thing was well done, leading to everybody knew Christian Cage, after beating Kenny Omega once, was going to have a very hard time capitalizing and doing it again. So we kind of already knew he was going to lose. But then immediately afterward, you're thinking, well, who's the next challenger? Lights go out. Adam Cole comes out. You're like, holy shit, Adam Cole's the next challenger. But no. It's another fucking double swerve, bro. And he sides with the Elite. And then the two things, Kenny Omega's so fucking good. He goes, anybody who could challenge me is either not here, which was wrong because Daniel Bryan was here, retired, or dead. And Adam Cole, as you remember, was killed on being the Elite. Kenny Omega poisoned his Monster Energy, and that's how they got him off the YouTube show. So as soon as he said dead, I was like, okay, Adam Cole's coming out, and here comes Cole. But Cole sides with them, and then he continues. He's like, nobody else is going to challenge me. Everybody's about to goodbye and unite and everything. And then Flight of the Valkyries hits. You're like, holy shit. I
love the updated music, by the way. I like the twist. Fantastic. Because I don't like his music, but this one I like.
No, I didn't. I never liked the classical version. The funny thing is they did try to get Final Countdown, which was Bryan Danielson's song as the American Dragon in Ring of Honor. Europe, the band, notorious for not liking that song, even though they wrote it. And they charge a lot of money for it. And back about 10 years ago, Ring of Honor wanted to use it, and they said you could use it if you pay us $50,000 every time you play the song. So if Daniel Bryan wins the match, that means you're paying him $100,000 as you're playing it twice. AEW tried to get the music, couldn't, so they commissioned somebody to make this Flight of the Valkyries remix, which I think sounds great. It's an update. You know it's him because you're so used to what the music sounded like in WWE, but then it changed.
And it's got the revamp.
And that's like, that song is almost like AEW in a nutshell. You recognize something and you know it's wrestling and you know but it's new and it's different and it's updated. I love it. Tara, I'm right with you, Tara. I was disappointed that they didn't get Final Countdown, but it's a money issue. Those guys are bastards. They charge too much money.
But this version works if they can make it stick.
It feels like a walkout song for like a UFC fight.
Yeah.
It sounds like a song that you could come to the ring. Like, and that's what I generally didn't like about Daniel Bryan. He comes out, he's a smile. Oh, I'm just happy to be here. Like, wrestle, you fuck. Just be mean. Like, be mean and wrestle. Put your mean face on. Like, I like to recycle. No,
and
wrestle.
He did it.
Like,
and he did
I
it.
don't give a shit about any of that world.
And you know what? And he did it.
The American fucking dragon. Wrestle.
And he did it.
Oh,
he did it.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes of being in an AEW building, so to speak, he was throwing kicks.
He was not Daniel Bryan, silly guy who
he wasn't bubblegum anymore. Yep.
He wasn't hiding in a car with Brie Bella and Kane pops up in the back seat and any of that happy horse. Like, just the horse shit that they put that guy through. Listen, I know he's a nerd, and I've had my run-ins with him in locker rooms, and I think he's a nerd. But I feel I can't deny he's a big star, and he's another guy that's going to move the needle for AEW.
And you're going to see some great things out of him.
And you already know him and Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole is automatic. Like, they set that up basically there. So
yeah, that's happening.
Now, in order to get to Kenny Omega, you have to get through Adam Cole.
Right.
Which is what Hangman's going to have to do now. When Hangman comes back, can you fucking imagine? Hangman comes back, and now to get to Kenny Omega, he's got to get through Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, CM Punk, the rest of the it's going to be a climb for Adam Cole. And when he finally does it, and finally unseats Kenny Omega and becomes a champion, it's going to be a great moment. But then guess what? He's got to defend that title against Daniel Bryan, against Adam Cole, against CM Punk, against all these guys. Holy shit, we've got like 3 years worth of matches. At least 3 years worth of matches. It's incredible.
We're gonna take this home now, but we're gonna end it with Vince McMahon, WWE. Whether you want to pretend or not that they're not competition and that you're not scared, you should be. You should be very scared because they're doing it right. They don't have the limitations that you've put yourself in, being a public company right. and having these investors and being, stuck in the PG world.
Right.
Because
they exist there, they're just not. They're not listening to their fans.
No.
AEW. Remember the Dark Order and how bad the Dark Order stunk?
And look how great they are now.
Right. They are now, yeah.
The criticism and changed it. WWE doesn't take that criticism well. And in fact, like most of the time when somebody's criticized, like Nia Jax, they give her a push. They're like, oh, this will be good heat, brother. Nobody gives a shit about Nia Jax unless she accidentally drops somebody on their head. Anyway, the whole deal goes down to, like Mick Foley said on his Facebook video, WWE's in trouble. They don't listen to their fans. They aren't the destination for new and upcoming wrestlers. There are kids now who, instead of saying, I want to wrestle for WWE, are saying, I want to wrestle for AEW when I grow up. And that's a big problem for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all my kids want to watch now is AEW. And I have how many WWE fans do I have in this house? I said, Alex, you want to watch this? He goes, no. He goes, I want to watch AEW. He goes, that's where Adam is. That's where Brian is. And he'll tell you everyone that's signed. He goes, that's where Andrade is.
And you know what? For a kid, that's
what's going to start happening.
When kids that age can recognize the difference and say, hey, the guy that I liked on that station's on this station now.
Yep.
They make at 5. Was he 5? 6?
He's going to be 7 on Sunday, but yeah. For
a young kid like that to make a decision, hey, I want to watch this TV show. That's wow. You
had to see him fighting Eric on the couch the other night. He's like, no, I'm watching. And he goes, no. And he's like, and all of a sudden he just sat there and goes, and he didn't even say Alistair. He said, is Malachi wrestling tonight?
See, and that's the other thing. When people start using the AEW name, they're not calling him Dean Ambrose and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's
he calls him John Moxley, but he didn't say, where's Malachi? Yeah. And like Eric was like floored. Like, did he just say, where's Malachi? I said, yeah, he knows the difference.
And that's great that a kid that's going through speech therapy can say all these names too. So
I know, but he does say Viking Raiders now, which is kind of depressing to me. I kind of miss fucking Raiders.
D-Star, I want to thank you for joining us on the stream tonight. Please share with your friends. Let us know. You're right. WWE looks at the financial bottom line, not bothered about connection with fans or customers. They are now a content company. They are.
Unfortunately, he is correct.
On YouTube. You ever watch tasty videos on Facebook where it's 30 seconds on how to bake a pie or something? That's what WWE does now. They just make they wrestle full wrestling matches just to get like a TikTok clip. That's it. Anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, top of the hour.
Oh, man. I know
Missed it.
Steve is going to be getting yelled at by his wife because he's late for dinner. I want to thank you guys for joining us on the War Report podcast. We are here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. People like D-Star and everybody else who's joined us from outside of our circle of people that we usually know. I want to thank you for joining us and listening. If you enjoyed your time here, please come back next week. Tell your friends. We want to expand our community. We get a lot of listens on the podcast apps. We would love to get more interaction during the shows. We'd love to see more people coming, telling us what they thought about the show afterwards. So if you follow us on social media at Tag Me a Date, that's Tag Me a Date, no spaces. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, etc., at Tag Me a Date. You'll find us on YouTube at Tag Me a Date. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified when we go live. Again, that's 6 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday evenings. It's every Tuesday, believe it or not, except on the very rare occasion. If you prefer your podcast in audio format instead of video format, well, you're in luck. We have our podcast available on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play Podcasts. Our trusty intern, Ryan, takes the audio from this show and uploads it. It takes about, it's within the hour of the show ending their broadcast. So in about an hour from now, you're going to get the podcast version on your podcast app of choice. Just subscribe. It will get uploaded there, and then you can listen to it in the car or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Twitch.tv/War Report if you want to check out our Twitch channel instead of our YouTube stream. But we'll be right back at it. It's live streaming on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, everywhere on the internet that we can live stream for 60 minutes a week. And we'll be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. I hope you guys enjoyed the show this evening and have a nice rest of your